So welcome everybody. My name is Ashley Guberman with Primary Goals. This webinar here is on the foundations of generative marketing, connecting what you care about to the people who want it taken care of. We're going to go over what generative marketing is, how it is that it applies to you, and an overview of some high-level marketing ideas that you're going to need in order for you to market your product effectively. What's going on, the promise of this particular webinar is that you'll have a big picture view of all, not all, but many of the components that go into your online strategy. You'll see how these components fit together because there are a lot of them and it's easy to get lost in the weeds. But most important, I want you to see the relationship between the various pieces of marketing rather than become a master of all, because that's quite an onerous task. Most importantly, for you as a customer of marketing services, what I'd like is for you to know what promises you need to demand of your service providers. And lastly, I want you to see the importance of connecting what it is that you care about to what your customers want taken care of. So this webinar here, it is not a pitch for me to be the performer or vendor of your technical needs. I'm not going to give you a pitch, hey, hire me to do your website, hire me to do your marketing. That's not what this particular program is about. It's about making you a better customer for whoever it is that you ultimately end up hiring and working with. It's not the best absolute approach between you should use social media X and channel Y rather than use this strategy rather than that strategy. Because of course, the answer is always, it depends. So lastly, this is not a deep dive into the technical weeds of execution. That would be a huge course and dry as toast. I've already taken a couple of those. Fascinating material if you're really into it, but it's easy just to, just to get lost. So who do we have here on the webinar? Based on the survey after registration, people who have an idea for a product, about 60% of you have a website. Most of you so far are not accepting name and email, or only a small number of you actually have a contact management tool. Nobody's using advertising their goods or services. Some folks are using social media, but the social media is not connected to their strategy. So the main benefit for this audience, as I see it, is this gap here between you have a website, but you're not collecting names and emails, not yet advertising, and social media not connected. If you should all see yourself somewhere in here because it's based on your responses, the main thing I want you to know is you're in the right place. What we're going to do in this webinar is we're going to go over this diagram. Now, if you just take a look at this, right off the bat, it's like, it's just way too big, way too scary. It doesn't make any sense. And for someone who says we're not going to dive into the weeds, this kind of goes against that. So we're going to build that up. But I want you to know that the content of this webinar is going to be focused on your questions. These are a sampling of some of the questions that came in from people that registered. What is the low-hanging fruit for marketing services? We will be covering that. How do you connect what it is that you do with what others need, fostering the connection rather than just being noise in somebody's email inbox? We all get more in our inbox than we can possibly shake a stick at. This is about helping you find out more about marketing as a process. It's not so much cookie cutter, but there are certain regularities that one needs to go through in order to market effectively. And we're going to go over some of those regularities so that when you're working with people, you can make more effective requests. One of the questions was learning how to market without using Twitter or Facebook, but LinkedIn is okay. So there's an underlying concern in there, and we'll probably come back to that particular one at the very end of the webinar. Question was, how can we use some marketing tools for my business? Yes, we're not going to go into so much in the tools in this webinar as the concepts, and then the tools are what implement the concepts. and how to build a strategy that will generate more business for you. We're going to again go over the outline of what your strategy needs to include based on making more effective requests of your marketing providers. And one of the more important questions I found was, how do you know it's working? What's actually driving traffic? Someone hit the nail on the head when they said without metrics, it seems like it's a waste of time. And that's very much true. So we're going to go over some of the things you need for metrics from whoever is actually providing from you. So back to this big diagram. Rather than taking this apart, we're actually going to start from the component pieces and build this diagram up a piece at a time. It all starts here with you as a business owner. You have offers. You have things that you do, things that you care for, offers that you make to your audience, to your target market, to the general public. And then there's the people in the general public, your prospects. You want for people to see the offers that you're actually making. Ideally, you hope that your website is the piece that is going to make the connection between people who want what you offer and your individual offer. But it's hard to know. Is your website actually working? Is it making the connection between your offers and prospects? Even with a good website, it's hard to stand out because there's so many of them. Even if it's cool, flashy, or beautiful, it's still hard to stand out. And one of the first challenges here is that many marketing professionals talk about results, but all they'll do is build you a great website. A website is important, but it's not the sole component that's going to get you the results that you ultimately need. So traditional marketing under this model, it's not broken, but it is missing actually several important conversations. And that's part of what we're going to cover here. What is generative marketing? In some ways, in my case, this is actually a story of a reluctant marketer. When I was younger, even today, my dad owns an advertising agency. And I remember watching television, and the commercials would come on, and I would get so upset that something was interfering with my entertainment, with my programming. Just like a typical child. And so one of the things I ended up doing is muting all of the television commercials. Not a big deal. Except for the fact that my dad, owning an advertising agency, says, you do recognize that these commercials are what put food on the table, right? And, being a bit of a smart ass, I said to my dad, well, yes, Dad, I do know that. And if you were a tobacco farmer, I'd love you too, even if your product was killing people. I just don't like the commercials. So for me to come to this point where I'm actually giving some information to people about what is generative marketing, well, there's been a bit of an arc in there. And it all comes from learning more about the trade and, more importantly, making the shift from buy my stuff, to what is it you care about and how do you make the connection between what you care about and people who want you to take care of. In many ways, marketing has a bad name here. And, the story I told you, it's a part of that. Effective marketing is not just about spinning things. It's not about just getting people to do what you want. It really is about making a genuine connection between your care and their concerns. So back to the offers website and the people you're trying to connect with. Fundamentally, your offers and your website is an artifact that reflects what it is that you care about. And your offers are a way that you demonstrate to other people that you can help them take care of it. Because people who are going to consider your product, let alone buy it, they have their cares, their concerns. And under ideal circumstances, when they come across your website, they recognize not just who you are or what it is that you're doing or just your offer, but they see on your website something that reflects their cares, what they're concerned with, and later how it is that with that overlap, your offer actually does take care of what they care about, which leads to getting more of your offers actually accepted. So there are so many different offers that you can make. One of the questions is, what is it that actually goes on your website? One of the most common things people do when they're just starting up a website, they'll have a couple static pages saying, here's what I do. Here's some of the things that I work on, a little bit about my background, how to contact me. But the more important part is the content that you are actually creating for people to consume, content that they see and it resonates with their cares and concerns. A lot of folks, when they're helping you put your website together, what they'll say is, oh, it's real important. You say, I make, do, or produce something for customers, and you describe the customers so that hopefully they see themselves in it, so that you can produce some result. Well, that's one thing you can put on your website, but what I advocate is much more focus on what it is that you care about. Even if you answer those same questions, what you do, for whom, and why, make sure it's in the context of care. So why? Why would we want to focus more on our care on our content rather than, I do X for Y so that Z? If any of you are familiar with the work of Simon Sinek, Start with Why. Well, what you care about, that's your why. The content of your site goes over for your prospects aspects of how you actually take care of what it is that you care about. Then and only then do your offers make sense in this context. So even if you do that, this still doesn't answer the question, how are people actually going to find me? I've got an amazing website. It's real clear what I care about, and it takes care of people's cares and concerns. But in the how many billion websites that are out there, you can still be fundamentally invisible. So this is the spot where the social media game starts to come into play. Using social media, after you've created content on your website, you're going to post on social media to your content. Social media is one of the tools that drives traffic to your content. And then based on social media, other people are going to consume social media. They do on a regular basis. Facebook is one of the biggest properties on the internet today. We'll probably focus on Facebook a little bit further on, just because it's the easiest to work with. It's the most popular. It's where you're going to get the most traffic. Once you get people to your content because of your social media post, your content is one of the tools by which you can make offers to your prospects. Paid advertising is one of the things that puts your content in front of a broader audience. Now, one of the things that's real important to focus on here, especially since from the initial survey, nobody said that they were advertising, is that if you post on social media and you have a lot of people in your circle and you ask them, hey, check this out, please share this, and every one of them share, you are still only going to receive a very small exposure relative to what is possible. So you're still only going to receive a small portion of your ideal target market. Even if you have 1,000 people who have liked your page or are following you, when you post something on Facebook in particular, not all 1,000 of those people are going to see it. In fact, what Facebook is going to do is show it to a small subset of the people in your natural audience, and they're going to see what happens. If people in your audience see your content and they click, then Facebook knows, oh, you've mentioned something relevant to the people who are following you. We'll show it to a bit more of the people who are following you. And as more and more people actually click on it, Facebook sees that this is enjoyed by their audience. They see that it's resonating with them based on the fact that your audience is clicking. They are engaged. Facebook wants people to be engaged. So if you post something and nobody engages with it, you are never even going to get it in front of the eyeballs of all of the people who have already liked or are following you. So one of the questions for you here as a marketer, someone who says, well, yeah, I can do Facebook ads for you. I can do your Facebook campaign. You as the customer of marketing service need to ask, where is the promise of any results? Ultimately, the results that anyone who's got a product or offer is concerned with is, I want sales. I want people to buy my stuff. Well, yes, that's true, but you can't start there. If you start just from buy my stuff, all of you have seen websites like that. They don't hold your interest. You're not going to engage with them. You're not going to come back. And fundamentally, what you're doing is you are building a relationship with your audience. Your content, your initial content, is the way by which people come to learn about you. And if you go to a dating analogy, your website, where they first see your content, that's where they first see you. When you make an offer to them to buy something, that's like, hi, I really like you. I'm attracted to you. Let's get married and have kids. It's jumping the gun in building a relationship. So you as a customer of marketing services, as much as you may want the ultimate promise of, can you promise me sales? It's actually built up of a number of much smaller promises along the way. And we're going to go into some of those. So you've got somebody on your site. How do you deepen the relationship? It starts with cookies. Cookies are a way of tracking people who hit your sites. Some people don't like them, but you as a content producer who has something that you care about and want to take care of, you're going to need to place cookies on your site, which really is a way of tagging people who visit your site so that you can communicate with them more effectively later on. And we'll show how this works in just a few slides here. The main cookie is what's called an audience cookie. That means that anytime anybody visits any page on your website, the social media properties, Facebook in particular, we'll talk about that one here, will drop a cookie on that individual person. Now, you have no idea who that person is. You can't say, oh, this is Mary Smith. I can tell because Mary's been cookied. You can't tell that. All you know is somebody has been to your site. When they visit individual pages on your site, it used to be you drop a different cookie on them. Now it's just one. So here's what we just covered here. The audience cookie is for anybody who visits any page on your site, and then it used to be a specific cookie for a particular page. Facebook started recognizing that people who have hundreds and hundreds of pages, that's an awful lot of cookies to manage, and finally they said, look, there should really only be one cookie. And now all you have to do to make use of this cooking process anywhere on your site is put a tiny piece of code on your website, and Facebook handles all of the rest for you. Okay, so one of the questions on the survey was, is there any low-hanging fruit? Yes, this right here, placing the cookie, is the low-hanging fruit. If you have a WordPress website, it'll really only take you about 10 to 15 minutes to set up your account properly on Facebook, get the code, and then place it onto your website. This really is something you can do yourself. I've got a separate video that I can send folks the link to that shows you how to do it, or I'm happy to make an offer to help you get that cookie on there, because it's the first step. It is low-hanging fruit, and even if you don't know what you're going to do with people who visit your website, the first thing really is start tracking, so that if 6 months from now you're ready to start making use of the data that's been collected, 6 months from now, you realize, all right, I now have something particular I want to offer to people who've been to my site. Because you've had this cookie in place, you can say to Facebook, I'd like to put a message in front of all of the people who have been to my website in the last 180 days. But if you don't put this tracking code on your site, then you're not going to be able to reach those people later when you're ready for it. So this is a passive thing that you do to your website. It's passive for everybody who visits your website, and it's an essential piece of low-hanging fruit so that you can make use of it later down the line. Now, one of the promises of someone who's helping with your Facebook campaigns, or even just helping you put this cookie in place, is going to be so that with advertising, the first promise here is I can promise increased traffic. I can promise more people to your site by virtue of advertising than you'd ever be able to promise just by doing your Facebook posts and your own social group saying, hey, please help me promote this. The other promise here, more content pages, more views of your site, more views of your individual pages. So this would be the first metric you'd want to demand of anyone who's running your Facebook campaigns. Show me how much traffic I'm getting right now. How much more traffic can you promise? And then what's it going to cost? And it's not terribly expensive. Facebook is really a very affordable medium if you do things effectively. So one of the other questions was, how do I do this without Facebook, without Twitter? Well, the next thing you're going to want from the people who are helping you with your marketing is a bit of search engine optimization. It's called SEO. Google, Bing, Yahoo, all of the search engines, they are in the business of serving ads. But nobody goes to those search engines for the purpose of the ads. They'll go to those search engines for the purpose of finding what they're looking for. What can take care of my current concern that I typed into that little search bar? Optimizing your site, search engine optimization, means that on your website, for someone that has clearly expressed an intent, the search engine can recognize that, oh, your site takes care of what it is that they're looking for. So optimize for what? Optimize for what it is that people are looking for, which means that on your website, it needs to be clear what it is that you care about so that the search engines can make the connection between an individual search and what it is that you want. A while back, Google came out with a new algorithm called Hummingbird. But Hummingbird is where they really started getting their search engine much more intelligent for what people are searching for. So for example, if someone typed in on the search engine, who is the president? Today, it would pull up Barack Obama's official website. And if the next question you asked was, does he have a dog? It would give you the answer for President Obama's dog. Now, if you think about that, just the question, does he have a dog? Does who have a dog? Well, it recognizes the context in which your question is asked. It's asked in the context of a previous question. And so based on what people are searching for, so the more clear you are on your website about what it is that you take care of, the easier it is for the search engines to recognize that your content actually takes care of their search, which means they're more likely to serve your page higher up in the search engines. So some of the promises that you as a customer need from whoever's helping you in SEO is that they can give you increased search traffic. That means that somebody is searching for something and your website is what pops up on page 1 for the answer. If you want to be in the top page for something like executive coaching, you're going to find that there are thousands and thousands of pages there, and it's going to be very difficult to get ranked organically on the very front page. Executive coaching is a very broad term. Now, On the other hand, if you focus on a much more specific niche, such as nonprofit executives who focus on, philanthropy, or who focus on eradicating poverty, the more refined you are in being clear what it is that you care about, then the more likely you are to be found with a more specific request on the search engines. Think back to your requests. You'll start with something general. You'll click a link or two. You'll find that's not quite what I'm looking for, and you will get more and more specific in your search until ultimately you find what you're looking for. So part of search engine increased search traffic means that you were clear on the specific niche that you serve, and you can be found for specific search requests. Other promises is that you can get more organic page views, which basically means people just stumbling across your site for various other search terms. Reduced bounce rate is one of the things they can promise, and there's a specific metric and way to get this. It happens to be with something called Google Analytics. But fundamentally, what you care about as the marketer, as the customer of marketing services, is that when people come to your website, they're going to click a page or two. They're going to go deeper rather than just landing on your web page and going, no, this isn't what I want, and disappearing. Some level of bounces on your site. But good search engine optimization means that you can reduce that. Increase engagement means that you can tell that they are clicking on more pages on your site. Another promise is that they can monitor and improve your web analytics, which really just means all the metrics for how many people are visiting, how long are they staying, how many pages are they viewing, what page are they clicking on, what page are they leaving. And the more you know about that information, the more you can improve your site to take care of what your prospects, the people who land on your site, actually care about. So that's the SEO. Now, I started this piece with, well, how are you going to do it if you don't want to use Facebook? Well, you can do this without social media. However, search engines actually love the content produced by social media. So these two pieces, social media and search engine optimization, they support each other to a very large degree. Backing up a little bit, what else goes on your website besides just the content it offers? One of the things you may hear is landing pages. So what is a landing page? A landing page is a very specific piece of content, and its main purpose is to help you capture leads. By which I mean someone who gives you their name and email information so that you can communicate with them about additional content, so that you can add additional value to them regarding what it is that they care about. And only after you add value to somebody are they going to be receptive to whatever your individual offer is. If you opt into somebody's mailing list because, for example, they say, give me your name and email here and I'll send you this free report. It's a common form of opt-in page on the landing page. And then you get the report and they start carpet bombing you with email, you're going to unsubscribe, or worse, you're going to report them as spam. Even though you signed up for their page, if they're not delivering value to you, you're going to go away. So you need to recognize that as someone who has an offer to make, you too need to produce value for people. And the landing page is just where you start part of a relationship. The landing page here, earlier when I spoke about advertising, you can advertise to your content. One of the other pieces you can do is based on the people who've already visited your page, people who by virtue of the fact that they've landed on your site, they're at least partly familiar with you. These people, you're advertising to a specific market, such as people who are interested in nonprofit CEO coaching. But this group over here, you're only going to be advertising to people who have already visited your page. They're cold. They have no idea who you are until they visit your site. This group of people, you're only advertising if they've already been to your site at least once, or they've clicked on multiple pages. What that means is you're advertising here to people who are warmer, people who are more receptive to your offer, people who are more interested in what it is that you're talking about on your website. One of the other reasons for advertising for this in this particular manner is that over here, when you advertise, you can advertise for a very low cost paid offer called a tripwire. So let's give you an example of how this would actually work. Let's say that you've already driven traffic to your site. You've got the list of people who were responsive enough to click. And now you want to spend, say, $70 advertising to get people who've been to your site, to get them to come back and visit a particular page on your site where you're going to make a low-cost offer. So you spend $70 on that. And for that $70, you get 100 people. These numbers are completely made up in order to be easy to work with. And of those 100 people who come to your website, 10% of them actually go to this landing page and they say, yeah, I do want this particular offer. I'm willing to pay, say, $7 to get this offer that you're making. So what that means is you spent $70 on advertising for 100 visitors, 10 of them purchase, $7 a pop. That means you have completely neutralized your ad cost. That means for the money you spent, you have now got 10% would be 7 new leads for free. 7 people have given you their name and email address and paid you something for whatever it is that you sold them. Now, let me clarify here the difference between a tripwire and just something that's called a lead magnet or just the opt-in page. The landing page is where its only purpose or primary purpose is to get somebody's name and email information. The tripwire is a step above that. Likely you've already got their name and email and you're already communicating with them. A tripwire, in addition to just their name and email, you are actually selling something, a low-cost item for the main purpose of neutralizing your ad costs and changing your relationship with the people who are on your site. Because people who buy something, even a very small thing, they are no longer just visiting your website. They are now a legitimate customer. You can enter a different form of conversations with them than someone who hasn't. So let's go back to some first steps you can take here. With whatever it is your business that it is, whatever it is that you do, one of the things I invite you to do is think about all of the offers that you can make. If you're a coach, for example, and you have a 6-month executive coaching package, well, that's great. But are there other things that you can offer? Reports that you can offer, free reports you can offer, surveys you can give folks, analysis you can give them, content that you've produced in the past. You want to produce a list of what are all of the things that I could offer, not just for sale, but what are the things I can offer that would add legitimate value to people so that I can engage in some form of communication with them. You need to be thinking value first, not how am I going to get them as a customer. How can I deliver value to people who are on my site? So one of the common pieces here from the landing page, the tripwire, the offers you're going to make, is whether they opt in by giving you their name and email address, or you get the same information because they've actually made a purchase, is at this point forward, they start to enter something called a funnel. A funnel is when you systematically take people through a series of pages, a series of content on your site. If they've given you their name and email information, you can send them an email directing them to a particular piece of content. for the purpose of adding value to them. A couple days later, you send them another email, which delivers additional content to them for the purpose of adding value. And you continue doing this in a sequence. What you are doing is, in addition to building value, you are building relevance for them. You are establishing trust. They are seeing that you are not just saying, buy my stuff, but you are delivering stuff to them that they recognize takes care of what they care about. So that when you later make a more significant offer to them, they've already established a deeper level of trust with you, and they're more likely to engage. Now, the other piece, when they've opted in to your funnel, where are you going to put them? You're going to put them into your CRM system. Stands for Customer Response Management. And there are a large number of these out there. Infusionsoft, Constant Contact, Aweber, iContact, MailChimp. There's a broad number, and which of those you actually start with really depends on where you are in your marketing process. There are several of them that you can actually get for free up until the point where you have, say, 2,000 or 3,000 contacts in there, which, for many folks who don't have this at all yet, that's a great problem to have. But the downside of some of those free systems is once you've got, say, 3,000 people in your list, and then you have to start paying for it, the free services usually don't have as elaborate or as robust a service for you as a marketer to really manage your list effectively. I'm not going to go into all of the details of list management and campaign management of lists at this point, simply based on the survey responses I got to my audience here. But in a deeper course that I'm offering, we will go into list management in greater detail. So you've got people in your CRM because they've opted in or they've made a purchase. You start sending them information on the funnels. The promise you want from your marketer who's setting up your funnel for you is, can they set up the sequenced content for you? Can they help you drive prospects to the particular pages of your site that are adding value? Can they help you set up your email communication so that you can educate your prospects, build trust, and establish expertise? Those are the promises you want. The metrics for that are going to be people are actually opening and clicking your email. When you set this up, you can tell how many of them are coming to your site. You know how many are coming back. You know how many people are, for example, sharing out your content. There's a lot of different metrics. But the promise you want from someone saying, I can help set up a sales funnel, is these particular things. And the metrics that they are going to be able to prove to you that they are actually accomplishing these goals for you. The other value for you of having your prospects in a funnel is it increases sales. Your funnel, your ability to communicate with people by email, is really the jet engine for your entire system. Because at this point, whenever you create content, you can let the specific people who've already expressed interest, you can let them know you've produced additional content. You have their permission to contact them by email and to communicate with them. So direct mail is one of the pieces that really powers this entire system here. The cookies that we talked about earlier, you're going to have cookies on all of your landing pages, on all of your offer pages, on all of your funnel pages, so that you can help track who is doing what on your site. Not so much so that you can say, I see what Mary did today, but rather so you can see 50% of the people clicked on the landing page and never went anywhere else. Of those 50 people who clicked on the landing page, 30 of them actually went to the offer. Of the offer, 10 of them actually took me up on the offer. You can start to see how your conversions are going at each step in the funnel so that you can do various tests and figure out, how do I maximize my numbers? so that if I get 100 people here, how can I get 70 people here? If I get 70 people here, how can I get maybe 50 people here? The numbers are arbitrary, of course, but these cookies and your CRM together help you put the metrics in place so that you can see what's working and what's not. As you can already see here, even though we're building up this diagram piece by piece, it gets complicated. You're not going to want to manage all of these pieces. As a customer of marketing services, what you're going to want is someone who knows how to do this. And you, as the customer of marketing, you need to know what questions to ask. You need to know, how do I know that I'm being taken care of, that somebody is actually moving me forward towards getting people towards sales, rather than just, hey, yeah, sure, I can do a Facebook campaign for you. Yeah, I can put a website for you. I can do SEO. Task, 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 task. You, as the customer of marketing services, you do need those tasks performed if you're not doing them yourself. But most importantly, you need to know how to ask the right questions to know that you are being taken care of. Because chances are pretty good you're not interested in becoming a professional marketer. You want whatever it is that you do to take care of your prospects. You do what you do because it's something that you care about, something you are personally invested in. And what you're looking for is to make a bigger impact in the world, to serve people better with your product or your offer. In order to do that, you're going to need marketing, and you are going to need to be able to be a good customer of marketing services so that you know whoever's serving you is helping you deliver your message to the world and make the impact that you care about. The other piece about tracking we spoke about is, by virtue of tracking, if someone takes you up on your offer, you can also upsell them, which means if someone says, yeah, I'd like the $7 report on this, great, thanks, here's your report. Would you like to have a conversation where we can go into greater detail about how this report affects you personally as an executive? They said yes to something small. That's an opportunity to make them an offer for something larger. Or if you make them an offer and they say for a $200 product, making this up, and they go, no, I don't think that's quite for me. Then you can turn around and say, I got it. Are you more interested in something like this, a smaller dollar value product? That's what upsells and downsells are. Cross-sells is when you sell somebody or make an offer to somebody for something related to what they've already demonstrated they're interested in. For example, somebody who makes a purchase for paint, a cross-sell would be paintbrushes. An upsell would be a higher quality of paint. A downsell might be a watercolor set, for example. I'm just making this up. But that's what upsell, downsell, and cross-sells are, and they are part of your process. One of the other pieces you could put in place on your website content is called an exit pop-up. Chances are you've seen these. You go to a website, and just as you're getting ready to leave, this little dialogue pops up where they make you a specific offer. A lot of people don't like them. However, they can actually be very effective. What you're focusing on is somebody has landed on your page for whatever reason. They have found something in your content relevant enough to show up. But the particular page they're looking at, it doesn't quite do it. They're getting ready to leave. The purpose of the exit pop-up is to make them a simple offer. This would be an offer to opt into your list in exchange for giving them something of value. You're not going to use an offer pop-up, an exit pop-up to sell them something. Chances of converting at this point, they've already said, I'm going away. They're, oh yeah, actually, you've come to think of it, I will buy something. It's not going to happen. They're getting ready to go away. This is your last chance to say, would this be of value to you? Which is really your intent as a marketer to deliver value to people, and to use that to deepen a relationship and build trust. So the X pop-up is your one last chance here to capture their name and email information. Another piece of effective marketing is very much going to be YouTube or video content or webinar. This particular webinar that we're recording here, of course, it will be up on YouTube once I finish processing it. So one of the questions people ask is, well, all right, so where do I need to use YouTube on my site? You need to use it right here. Basically, everywhere on your site. Make use of some form of video. Does that mean video on every single page of your site? No, it doesn't have to. But the more places you can use video effectively, the more you're going to get people to engage with your content. And that, of course, brings up, well, how do I make my videos? How do I make my videos interesting? And that's a whole separate course, one that I don't offer, but I'm happy to give you a reference to. If you search for Video Genesis, there's actually a really good course on how to make use of video and how to get started. I'm also happy to help you with some of the basics, but that's not the main focus where I want to go here. So what we've covered in this webinar so far is, in your marketing, there's different parts. There's the generative part, which is what you care about and finding the overlap with what it is your customers care about. And there's the marketing part, which is the offers that you're making, and then the technology that goes into place for how you actually make all this work, how you get it in front of people, how you do the tracking. The question I've got for you here is, was this valuable? Time is the most valuable thing that anyone can spend. So my hope, I see on the list that almost everyone who started the webinar is still here. So thank you. The second question is, do you want more? If you could just give me a chat on the window, and also checking on the time. We don't have a terrible amount left, but is this a type of content that is relevant for you, that answers questions and concerns that you have? You can just give me a chat, something on the chat box, yes, no, that this is actually relevant to you. Some of the elements of being an effective marketing customer, what it is that you need to do. First and foremost, you need to know what it is that you care about. You need to understand what is the customer journey from beginning to end. Customer journey is the process by which they first land on your web page, they come to learn who you are and learn more about you. They start engaging in a process with you. They start consuming your content. They purchase a small, low-cost offer, all the way up to they're purchasing whatever your flagship product is. It's a journey that you are taking your customers through, and one of the things you need to be able to do is map out that process. How are you going to take your prospects from the beginning to the end? You have to have a series of growing offers that systematically create value in the eyes of your prospects. And you do need to understand the importance of metrics and what to ask for from your marketing providers. So what I'm offering is a series of 4 webinars that are custom designed from your feedback. There'll be questions and answers based on particular pieces of content. What is it that you need? What would serve you most in getting your marketing taken care of? Whether I'm the one doing your marketing or someone else. And I do have a small handful of people who provide services that I just don't do very well or I'm not interested in. My interest is helping you use your providers more effectively. So one of the things about this particular series of webinars, I want to let you know why it is that I created this. Back when I was younger, I had a Toyota 4Runner. I loved this car. I literally lived in it for well over a year. Mostly because I was doing a lot of camping. It was my home base. And it literally had everything that I own in it. And at one point, it just started running really, really rough. And it was burning through gas, and I had a hard time getting up hills. So I took it to a mechanic, and he told me, well, the problem is that you're dripping antifreeze into your carburetor. So I only had one question for him. Where is the carburetor on a fuel-injected engine? And he just sort of stammered a little bit because I caught him in a lie. I still can't fix a car, but I knew the questions to ask to make sure that I didn't get hosed. And that's one of the reasons I'm creating this particular webinar, for people who want to take their offers, get them focused, and increase the number of offers you're making that are actually getting accepted. So what is my promise? What can I promise to you if you're actually interested in this webinar? Well, I promise to listen to your concerns, your needs, your vision, and your obstacles, to teach you how to address those concerns, to guide the decisions that you need to make based on where you are in your online marketing process, to help you plan out what pieces you need to add, when and why, and most importantly here, to help refer you to people and resources who can take you deeper, or to people who can perform the work for you. And also, I'm not interested in taking your money if you're not going to be satisfied. So for the course I'm offering you a guarantee. Sign up, give me feedback, and ask questions, and I'm happy to give you a full refund before the second webinar if you realize this is just not for me. So what does the webinar series I'm offering actually cost? If you figure 4 hours of personally developed technical and marketing training, at $200 an hour, that'd be $800. I'm also offering a 30-minute one-on-one consultation so that I can learn more about your needs, your particular issues, and tailor the content to where you are in this course. So normally that'd be a $900 worth of value for the 4 webinars that I'm going to be offering this product. I'm offering the whole thing for just $397. So one of the questions that you need to ask yourself is, how do I start? How do I take all of this and actually make it useful for me? If you picture yourself here, wherever you are on your marketing journey, and where you want to get to is over here, where your pot of gold is, where you're booked solid, you've got customers, you've got a big list, you've got people purchasing your products, whatever that is. One of your challenges is you need to build a bridge. But what bridge? Do you focus on Facebook? Do you focus on blogging? Do you focus on Twitter? There's so many different avenues that you can focus on. What happens is people will start focusing on one particular avenue, say a Twitter campaign, and then realize, oh, that's not working. I need to work on more blog posts. I need to work on more guest posts. And let's start building another bridge for the purpose of trying to reach their prospects. Oh, that's not working. What I need to do is more on LinkedIn or more on advertising. There are so many different bridges you can build to make the connection between you and your customers. There's actually about 73 different ones, and I've got an interesting list for folks who are interested. What I want you to do instead, pick one. Pick one particular route, and which one is right for you is going to depend on the conversation, so that when you build that first bridge to your customers, you can actually reach them. You can reach that pot of gold. You can start increasing your revenue, and then use the fruits of your labors from one completed, effective marketing campaign to get your customers to complete the other bridges and increase your revenue stream. So that's pretty much the diagram and as a whole, and how generative marketing fits together as a whole. It's all about conversations that you need to have with your providers and metrics. So some of the questions we had in the start of the webinar were low-hanging fruit. We've covered that. How to connect what you do with what others need, making the connections. The connection comes from delivering consistent value to people and allowing them to go deeper into a relationship. More about marketing as a process. That whole diagram shows you how the different pieces of marketing, of your content, fit together. And there really is a significant amount of coordination if you're going to be able to take your customers through a journey to where they build enough trust they're going to buy your flagship product. There was the question how to do this without Twitter or Facebook. I'd love to know more about what the underlying concern was in doing it without those media. My suspicion is that advertising or trying to get effective work done on Twitter it's a lot like advertising, and it's a lot like exercising in front of a bowl of ice cream. You need to do it, but it's hard to do in front of all of those distractions. But for better or worse, those social media, they are actually very effective for marketers. How to use some marketing tools for your business. We didn't go into the tools in particular. We went into the questions you're going to need to ask, and the answers to each set of questions is a different set of tools in the full webinar, and we'll go into what the tools are, overviews of how you use them, for the purpose of knowing enough about the tools that you can have your marketing provider be effective for you. Building a strategy that will help you generate more business. The key part of the strategy is recognizing you need to use your website and build content, drive traffic to it, get people to opt in, build relationships, deliver value, and make offers that people trust. So there's a lot of pieces into it, more than we're going to cover in this 1 hour webinar. How do you know it's working? We've gone over some of the questions you need to ask for the individual metrics at the various stages of your marketing process. So that's the diagram as a whole, and I think that brings it to an end. I'm going to stay online here, and if any of you have any questions, you're welcome to type them into the chat window. I'll stay online and respond to those. This webinar is being recorded, and on the playback, there will be a spot where you can also enter your questions, and in that case, the questions will just go to my email, and I'll answer them from there.